You are now locked in and listening to The Issue.
This guy is a franchise quarterback, and no, I don't want to hear any pushback on that.
It feels like a top 10 roster to me. It feels like it can win a championship.
This is The Issue.
Yo, what's up? We are back. It is The Issue, episode 257, first episode of 2025. It is Thursday, January 2nd, and Happy New Year to everybody out there listening. Hope you had a good Christmas, a good New Year's. It has been fantastic here on the show, and we have more football to talk. I mean, it's just...
Feels like playoffs.
Now the end of the regular season we are predicting for does not feel like it's been 18 weeks worth of football. It flew by. But we've been here every step of the way, and we will continue to be here throughout the playoffs. So make sure you are, following the show. Subscribe, turn the post notifications on so you know when the episodes are coming out, because we have playoff football to talk. This episode, though, is going to look a little bit like this. We're going to start things out with Tim's rant, talking about the 2018 draft class and how they are performing right now. Baker Mayfield, stud. Saquon Barkley, best running back in the league. It's quite evident. We'll get into that first. Hits and misses to close the first segment. And then getting into the second, we will have our Week 18 predictions, followed by the Week 18 bets on a budget to close out the season and attempting to finish over 60%.
We're close. We're definitely going to be above the 56. So that's good. Were we like just below the sharp line last year?
We pretty much clinched the sharp line.
We've clinched that. We've clinched that for sure. But no. Those games they felt like playoff games this weekend. Fantastic. It's good to be in that mode of football. I know this week, Week 18, you're going to see some people resting, but nonetheless, these games feel like playoff games. So excited for Minnesota, Detroit. Was that Monday Night Football? I believe it's the last game of the regular season to decide the number one seed in the NFC. So exciting. But that game in Washington on Sunday night, that felt like a wild card game. That felt like wild card weekend. It was a massive game. And then there's the same thing with Minnesota, Green Bay. That felt like a big game. And I had a couple takeaways. My first takeaway from this entire slate of games, the entire weekend, is wow, you have to be dynamic at quarterback. And if you are, don't take them for granted. Help them out. There is such a gap in this league between teams that just get it at quarterback and teams that just don't get it. Look at some of these young quarterbacks. Jaden, you get a clever offensive coordinator, and Bo, you get a great head coach in Sean Payton, and Sam Darnold and Jordan Love get all these young stud weapons and young stud head coaches, O'Connell and LaFleur. The ability to draft or acquire or trade for, however you do it, the ability to get a franchise quarterback and help out that quarterback, you will become a legitimate contender in this league. That's what separates these teams from being even remotely watchable and just being dreck like the Titans. And, did you watch the Titans Jacksonville this weekend? No. Right? That's what separates teams in this league. And the number two takeaway, and to me, by far the most important takeaway from this weekend, is where you get drafted to and what surrounds you at that stop is by far the most important thing for a young quarterback. By far. Caleb put up 3 points. His current head coach didn't even start the season as a coordinator. Right? He wasn't even a coordinator at the start of the season. The guy's had 3 different jobs in about a 7-week span in Chicago. Puts up 3 points. Actually, the only time he threw for a touchdown, it was an insane play thrown across his body, got called back for a hold. Yet look at Jaden, look at Bo. Look at Penix. 2 starts in, you're like, yeah, that should work. He looks pretty good. He looks like he's going to be a franchise guy. Can sling the ball outside the numbers, between the numbers, whatever. And beyond just the rookie class, let's get to that top 3 of the 2018 draft class. Number 1 overall, Baker Mayfield. He goes to awful Cleveland. Actually kind of makes something of it. If you would have said when you drafted him, he'll go to Pittsburgh and win a playoff game, you would sign up for that instantaneously, and that's exactly what he did. Yet somehow the Browns get greedy. He was a little bit immature here and there, and next thing you know, he's playing scout team defensive lineman in Carolina. One of the worst franchises in the league. He's playing scout team defensive lineman. Then you give the guy, some weapons and some good offensive coaching and a team that believes in him and some time to mature, and he's absolutely fantastic. I think Baker's a top 10 to 12 quarterback. This season, just in a vacuum, probably top 7. He's having a career year, definitely the best of his career. Saquon Barkley. He was number 2. He was good in New York, but he was hurt often. He couldn't overcome Daniel Jones sucking. The line was bad. He never really had a great coach. Dable for a year or two, but never really had something that we thought could elevate him above and beyond. We thought he could be great, but we never saw great from him in New York. Now, he's unbelievable. He's all-time. He's great. He's going to break an all-time record. And then there's number 3 in the draft overall, Sam Darnold, who you give him one of the best wide receivers in the league, and you give him a young head coach, and well, he looks like Herbert or Mahomes out there throwing on the run, making plays, taking hits, throwing downfield. I mean, he leads the league in completions above 20 yards, and he's pushing the ball down the field. Aggressive guy, super talented, accurate, can move. But when you put him in New York with Adam Gase and put him against Belichick and his defenses twice a year, and Sean McDermott in Buffalo and Josh Allen twice a year, yeah, he was bound to fail. And you give him to Carolina, we know how that ends. Right? So are we surprised that, it's Cleveland that messed it up, and the Jets that messed it up with Darnold, and the Giants couldn't get it right with Saquon. They let him go to their rival, and Carolina actually had a whack at both of those quarterbacks and didn't really work. Are we surprised at all that those are the franchises that now sitting there today, what would they pay to have those guys back on their team? They'd pay, at bare minimum, middle to top of the market. What would Cleveland, would they trade, even on the same, they say, well, if we could trade guys, we'll still pay the guaranteed money, but it would just be to Baker, to Deshaun. They'd do it in a heartbeat. They would take Baker back in a heartbeat. You think Joe Shane wouldn't redo that and pay Saquon more to keep him from going to the Eagles? In an instant, he'd pay him $15 million next year. He'd give him the Christian McCaffrey deal plus 30%. You don't think Carolina? I know Bryce has looked better the last month and a half. They would sign up for the Sam Darnold. They'd pay him $55 million. Just like what you want to pay Brock Purdy, not worth it, but whatever. They'd pay him that money. They'd pay him what Herbert's making. Are we shocked that they messed it up? I'm not.
No, but the thing is, and the argument that I would make to that is that even if they did bring him back, say Cleveland orchestrated some crazy trade and got Baker Mayfield back, I don't think he would look the same there that he does here. I think bad coaches and bad organizations tend to be like governors on like a go-kart or like a golf cart. The potential is so much higher than what you're getting it at. It's slowing it down, and bad coaches and bad teams and bad organizations drag quarterbacks down. It drags down their potential. You see Baker leave. He does great. I feel like if he went back, he wouldn't do as well. I mean, your offensive line would be worse. Your weapons would be worse. Your coach would be worse. Like, you're in a much worse situation in a tougher division. So, like,
to be fair, Cleveland's weird because they won 4 games this year. I think if you put Baker on that team, they win 7 or 8. I think he almost instantly doubles their win total.
Yeah, but they're not. He's not doing what he is in Tampa.
Right. He's probably not throwing for 40+ touchdowns, 35+ touchdowns in Cleveland. You're right about that. I agree. I think he would make Cleveland instantly a wild card team.
Yeah. The value he would bring would be.
I mean, he's not
good,
going. He's not going there. Tampa's not going to let him go.
No,
I'm just saying.
But the ceiling in
Sure.
Cleveland would never be as high as the ceiling in Tampa.
Couldn't agree more. Same thing with Darnold. Like, people are talking about where should Sam Darnold go in free agency. If I'm Sam Darnold,
dude, I'm doing anything to stay in Minnesota.
If let's say Carolina says screw it, we want Sam Darnold back. We'll give him. He wants 55. Hell, we'll give him 58 a year for 4 years. Not fully guaranteed, but a lot of it guaranteed.
Yeah.
We'll give him close to top of the market. If you're Sam and Minnesota offered you 42,
I would absolutely say Minnesota. Because you can't risk leaving a good organization.
It's so hard for us to sit back and be like, oh, he should sacrifice $15 million a year. But I would just be like, Sam, think back to those days in New York. Think back to those days in Carolina. Yeah. You can make that money on the back. It's so hard for us to say that because it's like $15 million, a ton of money.
Yeah.
But you just got to think about it. That's all I'm saying.
You never know what the situation is that you're walking into.
No.
And when you're in a good spot, stay in a good spot.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, guys, we are going to get into hits and misses now. Go over where we were right and wrong this week.
All right, number 1 here. More of a me than a you. The CJ Stroud thing is getting. I'm not saying dicey. I still think he's a franchise guy. But we went from thinking, mate, could he crack the top 5? Could he be a dark horse MVP pick this year? To he's a lot closer to 15 than he is 10.
Yeah.
As of right now, we see sophomore slumps happen all the time, not saying it is the be-all, end-all. But I mean, they lost by 29. They didn't even get in the end zone on Christmas. And like, this is a Ravens defense that's played better down the stretch, but from a season-long standpoint, it's not a very good defense.
No.
And they put up 2 points. They didn't even get... The offense didn't score a single point.
It didn't look great. I think his play's been declining for the past, how many weeks now? 10?
Basically all year
10?
when compared to last year. But yeah, this year it's been declining for probably about 6, 7, 8 weeks now.
So, I mean, he's been on a little bit of a skid. I think he has the requisite talent around him to turn it around. I mean, he's in a good spot to do well.
So that's my question to you. This year, not going forward, this year, are they one and done in the playoffs?
This
Do you
year,
see them
yes.
beating whoever the 5 is, which will probably be either Pittsburgh or the Chargers?
Probably not.
Okay, I agree. Miss number 1 here. I'll take the hit. I'll also take the miss here. Kyler Murray. I've been a big fan of his. How many late game interceptions does this guy have? It's been almost, I think it's like 3 games now so far this season with another late game interception. They feel like they were in a playoff spot. They were vying, contending, and then all of a sudden they lost like 3 straight, and it's just not even close anymore. So
that's what happens when you pay a midget to play quarterback for you.
I still think he's fine. I still think he's a franchise guy. I just don't know if it works in Arizona. What should Arizona do going forward? Because you have Kyler, that salary cap. What do you do with that quarterback position going forward in Arizona? Do you keep him? Do you look to trade him to quarterback week draft? Do you maybe see if somebody will give up a first-round pick for him? What would you do? Do you just keep him?
See what you can get for him, because if you can go get a veteran that might be on the move, like we've talked about how Sam Darnold should stay in Minnesota, but what if he's not? What if he's out, shopping for the best contract, and Arizona comes knocking? So you do have some good veteran talent that I wouldn't hate to see them go after and at least try to acquire, but don't do it unless you're going to get good value for Kyler, because at the end of the day, he does hold value. You just have to make sure you're going to get the right price for him.
Yeah, for sure. Hit number 2 here. I was buying all the Bills stock. They now have hit the 13 win mark. They crushed the Jets. It wasn't even close. In fact, I don't even know if the starters for the Jets scored those 14 points. I think that may have been Tyrod Taylor that scored the 14 points. It was bad. I mean, whenever you see Mitch Trubisky trotting on the field for the Bills, the game's over.
Yep.
Maybe it's probably even over before that. Question for you. Is Josh the MVP, and are they the number 1 threat to the Chiefs in the AFC?
Yeah, I have him at my MVP, and they are absolutely the number 1 threat to the Chiefs. That's the only other team in the AFC that I can consistently say, especially this season, that I believe would beat Kansas City. I think there are teams that could beat them in spots, but I think the Bills have consistently averaged the best chance to beat the Chiefs.
I think I have Lamar at my MVP, but I do have them as the number 1 contender to the Chiefs in the AFC, for sure.
Okay.
Miss number 2 here. We've been all over Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. They're both really good, really clever, and I still think, look, going forward, they have a really bright future, ton of young talent, all these young wide receivers, young tight ends, etc. But it's like every time they step up in class a little bit, they tend to fall short, right? They've now been swept by the Vikings. They've been swept by the Lions. They're 1-4 in AFC North play. I feel like every time they take that slight step up in class, I get slow starts. I get sloppy play. I get a good effort on one side, not the other. It's like we never get the Packers that shuts out the Saints when they step up in class.
Yeah, I don't know. They get whacked down a little bit for sure. But I also think that is still just a little bit of growing pains with Jordan Love. Like, he hasn't been a starter in this league for all that long yet. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's fair. So do you still think that they are a legit Super Bowl contending? Would you be floored if they won the NFC? Can they win the NFC?
I mean, they made a run last year, right? And nobody really thought that they would go that far. This year, no, I don't think they have it. I think the NFC is too competitive for them to get a lucky win. But in years past, sure. This year, no.
I think I agree. Hit number 3 here. I went out and said I think Drake May is going to be fantastic. He's big, he's athletic, he moves well, really tough kid, clearly smart. He goes to UNC Chapel Hill for college, right? So he's a smart kid. And so I was big on Drake May. I know the Patriots have looked bad. I know he hasn't done a ton of winning, but he's the only reason you even tune into those games.
Right.
Like that Saturday game when they played the Chargers, there's no reason to even tune into that game if it's Jacoby Brissett.
No.
Right? Like, look, I love watching Herbert play too, but when it's against Jacoby Brissett, that's not necessarily my first choice on a Saturday, right? Let's be real. That's just the truth. Drake May's been the lone bright spot on just an awful roster, just a terrible roster.
100% agree there. Nobody, he at least brings viewers to the television. He brings fans to watch the game.
Can he ever be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL?
I don't believe so, based on the start that I've seen. I think possibly. Obviously, the chance is always there, but if I were to bet on it, I would say no.
See, I'm the other way. I just think it just depends if they can get a roster around him. But on the flip side of that, miss number 3 here, because I did come out, I was clearly in support of Drake May, but I did go a little bit too far and said I would take him over Jaden Daniels. I think I'm hedging my bet right now. I'm saying he will be better than Jaden. Jaden's been fantastic. He has the highest pass rating of any quarterback in football in the fourth quarter and overtime.
I know.
He's a rookie.
He's great.
He's a rookie when it matters most. He's the best quarterback in the league. It's absurd. I mean, he's got 3 or 4 game-winning drives at this point. I mean, he's been fantastic. Is he already a top 10 quarterback?
I think this year, absolutely. If you look at it in a microscope of just this year, yes.
Well, we have no other data point to go on, but even
I'm just
even
saying, if you're talking 5 years going forward, if we're just looking at this year.
But 5 years going forward, he's basically free for 4 more of those.
Yeah.
So it's there's an argument, if you were starting a franchise today, he's one of those guys you would talk about. You'd talk about CJ, you'd talk about, your Herberts, your Mahomes, but you want young, cheap quarterbacks. Jaden, Caleb, he's pretty high up that list.
The best of the bunch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's it to misses.
All right, guys. Make sure you stick around. In the second segment, we will have Week 18 predictions, every pick for every game, along with our Week 18 bets on the budget. Don't go anywhere.
All right, welcome back in. Happy New Year. It's the second, the third? The second. Great to have you in. This is the issue. If you missed the first segment, go back. We had a rant on the 2018 draft class. Darnold's flourishing. Baker's flourishing. Saquon looks like he could be an MVP as a running back, which when's the last time that happened? I think it was Adrian Peterson back in the early 2010s.
Yeah.
So, just stars coming out of, I don't want to say nowhere, but in their second or third stop. So go back, listen to that. We had hits and misses per usual. However you got here, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Amazon, all the things. We appreciate it. Follow, subscribe, turn those notifications on so when it does come out, you can go ahead and listen to it, watch it, whatever you do right away. So
for sure. Yeah, the rant today was fantastic. The 2018 draft class. Just, it is 2025 now. It was 7 years ago. These players have been in the league for 7 years.
Yeah. This is their 7th year in the league. Yeah, it's absurd.
How crazy. Does it feel like Baker's been around for that long? It doesn't to me. I feel like it was
especially
3 years
Sam
ago in
Darnold.
Cleveland, maybe.
Sam Darnold's still 27.
That was wild.
Baker's, I think, is 30. Sam Darnold's 27.
When Darnold started playing well and we started to kind of dive into the Vikings a little bit more and the Vikings gained a little more attention, because they did start a little bit slow.
Sure.
But after the 4th or 5th week when we knew they were going to be pretty solid and Sam was playing well, it was just oh my gosh, I totally forgot about him. And then learning he was 27, I was like, no. He feels like he's 33 though.
Yeah, well, he's not, so that's the beauty of it. All right, let's go ahead and get to predictions.
All right, guys, every pick for every game here in Week 18. Let's go.
All right, we're starting with the Saturday games. It is the AFC North matchup. We have the Browns at the Ravens. I'm taking the Ravens. I'm getting a better quarterback. I'm getting a more experienced head coach. I'm just getting a better roster. I'm going Ravens at home.
Yeah, you're just getting a better team. I'm going Ravens as well. There's nothing that leads me to pick against the Ravens right now. Their offense is fantastic. They're playing better really defensively.
Yeah, they're playing really well defensively.
But they've really turned it around because it was ugly earlier.
Yeah, no, for sure. Bengals at the Steelers. I'm fading the Steelers. I don't like what I see from that offense. I don't like what I see from the defense. The inability to stop the run. The secondary's been quite poor. You have guys on the defense calling each other out, but they're not saying who the names are. There's some sketchy stories. We'll say that. I'm taking the Bengals all day.
It's a concern, but then again, it's the Steelers and the Bengals. The Steelers tend to own the Bengals. I'm going to stay on the Pittsburgh side of this one.
Okay, fair enough. Commanders at the Cowboys. I'm going going Commanders. I thought about Cowboys for a second. Just because super emotional, big win for the Commanders. You come off that, and then you got to play the Cowboys, who they've actually been playing well. Cooper Rush's been playing well. He's winning more games than Dak was earlier this year.
Yep.
And they're at home. The Commanders don't really have anything to play for. They're kind of seated in there. So, thought about it. Commanders are just a better team, though.
Yeah, way better team. Better roster, better coached. I like everything the Commanders have here, and there's nothing. I'm not picking Dallas. I didn't pick them to start the season. I'm not picking them to end the season.
It's a fair point. Jags at the Colts. This is a real toss-up. None of it's good. None of it's good. The quarterback plays poor. I thought the coaching, even though I like Shane Steichen, the coaching's been pretty awful. The rosters suck. But I'm going to go with the Colts.
I'm going to go Jags. A coin flip kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair. There's really a no win there.
No.
Saints at the Bucks. Bucks are better and they have more to play for. Saints have nothing to play for. They're on a second or third string quarterback. It's useless.
I was going to say the Bucks have a real quarterback, and not just a real quarterback, but a top 5 quarterback in the league.
7, we'll say, but sure. Bears at the Packers. Packers are better. I bet Bears. It's Caleb. Caleb Williams is a chandelier in an empty warehouse. There's nothing else there.
No. Yeah, I'm taking Packers on this one too. This is easy.
Panthers at the Falcons. I do think the Falcons win. I would watch for this to stay pretty close. You do have a rookie quarterback. Defenses can kind of get after rookie quarterbacks. It feels very, 33-27 type of win for the Falcons.
Yeah, I'll go Falcons, but I will say the Panthers have been able to find a way to at least put something together and play decent football in the past couple weeks. So would it blow me away if they keep it super close? No, and you'll see that reflected in bets on a budget. But I will take Atlanta here to get the win.
Yeah, Bills at the Patriots. Josh is going to play a very, very limited number of snaps. Probably going to be like a preseason game where he gets a series or two, and then they're going to sub in Mitch Trubisky. They have nothing to play for. They can't drop down a seed, and they can't go up a seed. Casey's locked up the 1 seed, so it's a useless game for them. They're only going to play Josh. I still like them to win.
Yeah,
but it's a game where it's a big stay away if you're going to predict the winner or do a spread or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm going Bills just because of, I guess, name value, and Josh Allen will touch the football at one point. So.
Yep. Giants at the Eagles. Eagles are better. They don't have a ton to play for. They need a lot to happen in terms of, I think they still have a 0.5% chance to get the 1 seed, but it's basically useless for them. I'll take the Eagles, though.
Plus, it's just it's a middle finger game here for Saquon to possibly break the rushing record. Against the Giants would be
right, and
fantastic.
It's in Philly. How much better would it be if it was in New York? Oh my God, that'd have been crazy. Oh. Texans at the Titans. I'm taking the Texans.
Yeah, nothing in Tennessee that I like there. I will go Texans as well. Even though C.J. Stroud's been playing, not even mid. Decent, just
I would
very
say mid,
underwhelming,
very middle of the road.
I'll take the Texans here though.
Niners at the Cardinals. I'm going, I guess, with a slight upset. Cardinals at home. I'm going to go ahead and take Kyler. I think he's playing for maybe his job. I think it'd be crazy to move off Kyler this year. You only have a couple more years left on his deal. I don't think he's the problem in Arizona. He may not be the solution, but he's not the problem. So I think there are people that think he's playing for his job. I think he's going to feel that heat a little bit. I think the Cardinals come out and play well.
Well, I think you should feel that heat a little bit. You haven't won anything. You've been there for a while, and what do you have to show for it?
Got to the playoffs one time.
I mean, yeah. So have a lot of quarterbacks that have been let go. He does have a lot to play for, but at the end of the day, I'm going to take the 49ers. Their defense is better, their offense is better, and their coach is better.
Seahawks at the Rams. I have the Rams winning. I get a better quarterback. I get a better coach.
Same reasons there. There's nothing to argue for Seattle on that one.
Yeah. Dolphins at the Jets. I'm taking the Dolphins. They're just playing for more. There's a very, very outside chance that they get a playoff spot, but it starts with a win. So I think they're gonna really. I don't know. They have more to play for. Again, at this point in the year, what are teams playing for? Sauce Gardner's out there saying that the Jets quit. So it's like why would I pick the Jets?
No, yeah, I'm going Dolphins as well.
Chiefs at the Broncos. They're resting Mahomes, so you're going to get Carson Wentz versus Bo Nix.
I like Bo Nix.
I like Bo Nix in that one.
Yep.
I like Bo Nix in that one.
The Broncos are playing good football, man.
They're playing good football. The defense is underrated.
Well, they played down the stretch there and hung with them tight. What was that? Who did they play? Week 17.
The Bengals.
Yeah. The Bengals. They played the Bengals, and I mean, they were right
I thought you were talking about when they played the Chiefs last time, which they should have won. It was that blocked field goal at the end that is fairly improbable.
Ponies are looking good.
Yeah, Chargers at the Raiders. Chargers are better. Raiders,
What do you like on the Raiders? Do you like anything on the Raiders? I'm going Chargers.
The fact that they're going to have a high draft pick.
Yeah, the fact they're going to get a really good player and then waste them away.
That's about it. Vikings at the Lions. I'm going to go ahead and go with the upset here. I think the Vikings are the healthier team. Did you see Detroit's defense? It's a sieve. Who's getting stops for the Lions? Nobody right now. That team is so injury depleted. I'm getting the healthier team, and I'm getting the more dynamic quarterback. I like Goff, but I'm getting a more dynamic playmaking quarterback, so I'm going to go with the Vikings.
I'm going Lions.
That's the one I feel best about.
This is the best game of the week, by far. I'm going Lions. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it turns into a shootout.
Fair.
There's nothing on the Vikings defense that really impresses me either, especially with all the weapons you have in Detroit. They're going to score points.
Sure. All right, to run back through the splits here. I'm fading the Steelers. You have the Steelers beating the Bengals. I'll take the Colts and the Cardinals. You like the Jags and Niners, respectively. and I'm going with the Vikings over the Lions in what we would deem our game of the week. It is game 272 of 272, the last game of the NFL season, Sunday night, to potentially decide the division.
Yeah.
So there we go.
I love it. That is the game of the week.
Game of the week easily. So anyway.
Guys, go check it out. Those are the picks, last ones of the season there. Just to remind you, I have clinched it. It's currently 11 to 6.
It's not good.
Anyway, we are going to move right along here. We have our last installment of the season, of the regular season here at least, of bets on a budget. The 5 best spreads from around the league that we could find. Here we go.
A 5-0 would be sweet. It would move us back up to 60%. An 0-5 moves us down even with the sharp line at 56, which, don't get me wrong, is still a good year, but would be a fall from grace because we were at 64 at one point.
Yeah, it really would be.
So we got to have a good week here. At least 3-2. Got to have it. We're shooting for 4-1 or 5-0. Let's start with Tampa Bay, minus 13.5 versus New Orleans. First of all, I'm either getting Jay Haener, Ben DiNucci, no shade at the Pine Grad, and or Spencer Rattler. Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
Give me a break. There's just no chance. And Tampa needs this win to lock up the division. Now, granted, if they lose and Atlanta loses, they're good. But Atlanta's playing Carolina. So we think Atlanta's going to win, which basically puts Tampa in a win and in, must-have-it, gotta-have-it scenario. I'm getting a better quarterback when we have to have it most. I'm going Tampa minus 13.5.
I like that one a lot, too. And like you said earlier, you have to bet on who has the most to play for. Why are you getting dressed in the morning? Why are you going to the field? And why are you playing the game? Whoever has the bigger why is going to be on the right side of the bet.
I'm going 31-6. 31-6 there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Carolina plus 7.5 at Atlanta. Again, Atlanta is in a must-win scenario. They need to win, and Tampa needs to lose. But with that being said, rookie quarterback, it's indoors, so Carolina's going to be able to put up points. And so I like Carolina to keep it close. I'm not saying super close. I said during predictions, feels very 33-27, high scoring, inside, in a dome. 2 quarterbacks that can sling it, really airing it out. I like Carolina to narrowly cover, lose by 6. Atlanta still wins.
I like that one, too. Like I said, I have the same side there. I have Atlanta winning, but I do have Carolina keeping it close. They've been playing very good football, especially in Carolina standards. So I'm going to bet on the side that they're going to keep riding on that.
Kansas City plus 10 at Denver. 2 things. 1, Andy Reid, regardless of who his quarterbacks have been, all the way back to Donovan McNabb, is a really good coach. And he's a really, really, second maybe to Tomlin, as an underdog coach of like a possession or more. We're at a 2-possession spread here. That's absurd. Andy Reid almost never loses by 2 possessions. And on the flip side, since when does Denver blow anybody out? Even when they do win, it's pretty close. Like, it's a pretty close game. They almost never blow anybody out. I like Kansas City to keep it close, even with Carson Wentz in the game. I like Denver to win. Feels very 26-20. Kansas City gets a late cover.
And please, Carson Wentz is a great backup, too.
One of the best in the league, I would
say. To say that you have Carson Wentz as your backup quarterback, and he's starting with a very talented roster and one of the best coaches in football, yeah, it's going to be plus 10.
I mean, one of his last season as a starter in the league, he was 27 touchdowns, 7 picks. Like, he's a fine quarterback. The Chargers minus 5.5 at Vegas. I don't love the number. 5, anywhere between like 5 and 6 is kind of a dead number in terms of betting on the NFL. I have to put my eggs in the better coach, better quarterback bucket, which I'm going to.
That's a good
and I
place
think
to be.
also Vegas doesn't necessarily want to win. Like, I know that those guys in the locker room, there's no such thing as tanking. They have nothing to play for. Nothing to play for. In fact, it would benefit their franchise more if they lost.
Get a better draft pick.
Exactly. I'm going with Chargers.
Yeah, I'll go Chargers on that one as well. I love the reasoning.
Miami minus 1.5 at the Jets. If I'm getting a better coach, I'm getting the only real head coach in the football game. Anything under a field goal, I'm taking that all day long. And Miami's in a win and a little bit of help, and they're in scenario.
It starts with a win.
Starts with a win. I like Miami minus 1.5.
Yeah, I will go Miami minus 1.5 as well, and that's it.
Tampa minus 13.5, Carolina plus 7.5, Kansas City plus 10, and then 2 favorites to round it out, the Chargers minus 5.5 and Miami minus 1.5.
That is it, guys. The Week 18 bets on a budget. Go check it out. It is everywhere you can find the show. TheIssueSports.com will get you there, the link to everything. So go check it out. We appreciate it. But we will be back next week to give you our ranked playoff teams. Predicted playoffs, who we think, predicted AFC champion, NFC champion, Super Bowl champion. We'll get to it all next week. Very big show. Don't miss it. Turn your notifications on. Subscribe, like it, follow. Guys, we appreciate it. And that was The Issue.